Thank you for joining Impacting Leaders e-training for Delegating and Empowering. Your instructor for this course is Linda Sasser, CEO of Impacting Leaders. Linda has over 25 years' experience in developing businesses, leading teams, and directing sales programs. Linda shows her passion for empowering those around her in today's course. So let's get ready to learn more about delegating and empowering.
Today we're going to talk about delegating and empowering. Now, these are two different items. They're also two different skill sets. Both, however, are needed when you're leading others. Before we really dig into it too much, let's understand the difference. When I delegate something to you, that means I'm giving you a task and I want you to finish it by such and such a time, and here's what I want you to do. So I'm kind of a teller in telling you what to do. Now, if I'm empowering someone to do something, then I'm giving them more of a project, or perhaps it's even an entire job duty. But I'm saying, I have something for you. This is what I want to have happen. I want it to look like this. So let's sit down together and create a strategy for how we can make that happen. And then once we do that, of course, I'm going to lead, guide, and coach you, but I want you to own it. Okay, see the differences between the two. Delegating is having people help you with tasks, and you're telling them what to do. But when you empower others, you're helping them understand the why and the purpose and the vision, so they get to be involved in the big picture. They also get to make decisions on how it's pulled off. With you, of course, but most importantly, you give them ownership of the project. There's a big difference. People love to be empowered. They don't really like to be delegated to. Now, of course, we have to delegate. It's all in how we delegate. We don't dump. Delegating doesn't mean dump work on someone else when you don't have time to do it. That's no fun. Although we do, as leaders, we have to delegate. It's more how we do it that makes it acceptable to people. But empowering, that's exciting. That means I kind of get to be in charge. I'm owning this, and I'm going to put my signature on it, so it's going to be good. Now let's talk about why delegating and empowering are so hard. I know they're difficult because I coach a lot of emerging leaders that are learning how to be leaders, as well as mature leaders who have been leading for a while. And empowering and delegating is something both groups struggle with. And I've come to learn that it's because it's difficult to let go. Sometimes it's hard to let go of items, especially if you're really good at it. Those are the most difficult items to let go. So let's think about what would happen if we let some of these things go. First of all, what would happen if we let go of some job duties? Not only would it save us time, but we'd be actually helping someone else learn something new, which makes them more valuable to the company. That's when empowering is so nice, is when someone else gets to benefit for something that you've already mastered and have been able to do very well. People that get to follow you, when you give them important job duties, it makes them feel special and it makes them grow. And so they enjoy that experience with you better. Title and authority. Good Lord, if we could give that up. That's more about an environment. When we create an environment that's not where I have to work for you because you're my boss and on the organizational chart you're higher than me, we create an environment where people don't want to take on extra work. In fact, when you delegate and empower, you're just giving me a bunch of work. That's the mindset. But in an environment where titles are not important and you're not an authoritarian, in fact, you're an influencer, then it means people are more acceptable to take on projects, especially when you empower them. But they're even willing to be delegated to because they see this now as a team versus a hierarchy. I mentioned influence. Influence is also something that we can empower in others. Giving people the belief that what they know, what they say, and how they think is important and that you believe in them will help them be better influencers. And when your people start to influence, when your team starts to influence, it actually helps you get more done for your leader, not to mention your team being able to get more done. And last, I'm going to mention this last because I think it's most important. Probably the most difficult thing for someone to delegate or empower, and that is decisions. letting go of decisions. I think the reason it's difficult for new leaders in particular is because decisions are what we're supposed to do as leaders, right? I mean, we have the title and the authority, and so therefore we're supposed to make decisions. Well, not really. You're supposed to facilitate an environment where good decisions are made. But if we can empower others to make decisions, they're going to be able to accomplish more because they don't have to wait for us, and they can make multiple decisions, knowing this also frees you up so that hopefully you can teach your boss how to empower you with some things that they continue to do. Okay, let's stop right here and have some fun doing an activity. Take out a sheet of paper, and I want you to write down everything that you do on a day-to-day basis. So you're going to have to pause this session and take about 2 minutes. Don't take very long. You know what you do. Write down everything that you do, all the tactical items, all the tasks that you have to get done, also the responsibilities and items that you are responsible for. So pause. Let's take 2 minutes and do that right now. Okay, now take your list out and put it in front of you. Next, I want you to circle all the items that only you are qualified to do. Meaning, perhaps there are job duties that are so very specific that you're the only one who has the skill trait to do those. I don't mean the skill trait to do it the best. I just mean you're the only one that knows how to do it. After you circled all those items, I want you to look at the things you did not circle. That's your opportunity. That's also someone else's opportunity to grow. Find people that would enjoy taking on some of those tasks. Perhaps it's a new thing that they could learn. Or perhaps it's a responsibility that they would love to learn how to have that responsibility, and you could empower them to then own it. I would encourage you to share this list with your team. Let them help you, because as leaders, sometimes we think we're the only ones who can do it. They could probably circle some things on that list and scratch some things off that list. After that, I want you to show the list to your leader. Explain to them what you've done. Gain agreement from them. And then encourage your leader to do the exact same thing. Because here's what's going to happen. If you get to empower and delegate items to other people and grow other people, then your leader can do the same thing. And your leader should then empower you to grow and learn some of the items that they're responsible for. You know, like so many other leadership principles and talents that we have, if we believe in something, then it will happen. So we've got to change our beliefs, really. If you want to be good at empowering others, then we need to believe that empowering others is a good thing. Sometimes to believe that, we have to purge a lot of thoughts that aren't good. And we have to take up new thoughts and new beliefs that are good. So let's talk about getting things done versus getting things done through others, which every true leader learns to be brilliant at. So let's work through, what should we purge? And what should we learn to adopt? Well, the first thing is, we must purge the fact that we believe we are the only person who can do it right. You know, let me just be frank with you. You're not the only person who can do it right. There are others. Now, in the beginning, they might not do it as right as you, or they might not do it the way you do it, but they'll get it done. Remember, you've got to lead, guide, and coach. If they can't do it as good as you, then it's your fault, because you're the leader, you're the coach, you're the mentor, and you are responsible for teaching things that you empower or delegate. So adopt a mindset that makes it safe for people to learn and grow. You are the teacher. You are the mentor. Create a safe environment where people want that to happen. Now, we've got to purge the mindset of it. It's quicker if I just do it myself. Well, you know what? It is. I'll admit to you. I fall into that trap often myself. But I have to realize, like you, that it's only quicker this time. Because the next time I do this, now I've taken up more of my time. So we have to think sustainability instead of quickability. finding satisfaction in being a workaholic. Okay, now that is going to take some extra coaching. Some of you love to work. Some of you find that the only reason you're of value to your company is because of all of your work and your long hours of work. And that's simply not true. You need to be able to find satisfaction in being a leadaholic, meaning your division or your department or the area that you're responsible for, or maybe it's the project you're responsible for. Don't work the whole thing by yourself. Lead through it, helping others engage on that team. Workaholics just take up time. Long term, they really do, and they slow down the team. We've got to purge the thought that everything has to be perfect and that perfection's demanded. We can't demand perfection, but we can inspire it. So think about how you can inspire people to get as close to perfection as possible. And then if you're a perfectionist, you have to start to understand that because it wasn't done your way doesn't mean it's not perfect. As long as the outcome is where we need it to be, that's the important part. And you know what I found part of empowering others? If we can empower them to own the results, how they get there needs to be their own way. We can help them, and we can tell them now that here's the pros and cons of going that direction. But understand that they don't have to do it the same way you've done it. We're looking for the outcome. That's the important part. So unless they're hurting others or they're doing something illegal, let them help form their way of doing things. But perfection is in the outcome, not in the tasks, in the doing, and in the strategy. We've also got to purge the attitude that mistakes are not tolerated. Well, now, if you're a person who says mistakes aren't tolerated, I can tell you you're already making a leadership mistake. We learn through mistakes. So let's adopt a mindset that says mistakes are acceptable if we use them as teaching moments. There is an if. Mistakes are failures when we don't stop and debrief and understand where it went wrong. If you just make a mistake and you get angry and everybody goes down the road, that's a big mistake. But when you stop and debrief and learn from it, it's a huge benefit. How much I do determines my worth. Nope. You've got to purge that mindset. How much I grow others determines my worth. Leading everybody and being the boss of all these followers, that's a mindset we have to purge. Where we want to go and the mindset we want to adopt is leading leaders and then inspiring everybody. As a new leader right now, I realize you kind of feel like you're a boss. To you more mature leaders, or those of you who have been leading for a while, you realize that I'm a leader of a lot of followers. And I get to tell people what to do. I get to delegate. I get to be responsible. And then the next step for you is that you're a leader of leaders, which is entirely different than leading followers. So understand, whether you're new or mature, there are 3 steps here that we want to try to empower people through. Leading as a boss of others, which is a titled position. And we want to move out of that as soon as possible to where we are leading followers. And we're leading them, not bossing them. And then leading leaders, which is where we all aspire to be. The mindset that your scoreboard is on the doing instead of your scoreboard being on leading others to do. And then, I love this one, the mindset that we have to purge. I love closing the deals. Instead of having a mindset of, I love seeing my team close the deals. Now that's for you salespeople out there. As you transition from being a sales closer to being a sales leader, that's a big transition. And it takes empowering and teaching. Okay, so now that you know all the things you need to purge and all the mindset and beliefs that you need to start adopting, take that list and hang it up. Remind yourself about this, because this is not an easy transition. This takes time, and you have to be intentional. You have to remind yourself of those old habits to break. So here's some tips as you're starting your process of empowering others. 1, ask them what they're thinking. Now, not in this way. What were you thinking? No. Find out what they're thinking. And when they bring something to you, or if you're delegating, or if you're empowering them to do something, then ask them. Let's talk about, what are you thinking? What's in your head? How should we approach this? Use your team's brains, not just their hands. Let them think. Let them help go through this process and find out what's in their heads. That's how we learn. 2nd, let's allow our teammates to learn through their mistakes. I've already touched on this, so I'm not going to dwell on it. Just be ready that there'll be some mistakes. Stay close enough to help, far enough away that they'll learn from it. Have check-ins on their process. In other words, when they're starting to attempt the item that you've empowered them to do, ask them to check in periodically. And I would say probably check in with me at the end of every other day, or perhaps it's every week. This all depends on, of course, the skill set that they have. If it's a brand new thing for them, they need to check in more often with you. But when you ask for check-in times, what's happening is you're trusting them. You're not micromanaging. These are check-in points. They're very easy, simple, and I think it's a feel-good, and it makes them feel comfortable that they can check in with you. You've made yourself approachable. Your door is open. At the same time, you don't feel like you're having to micromanage. And then the last thing, these are check-in points. They're very easy, simple, and I think it's a feel-good, and it makes them feel comfortable that they can check in with you. You've made yourself approachable. Your door is open. At the same time, you don't feel like you're having to micromanage. And then the last thing, set up appropriate boundaries. Now, what we mean by this is, if someone is a go-getter and a high-level achiever, they may just start running too far for your comfort. So make sure they do the check-ins as we've suggested, and then give them boundaries. A boundary is something like this. John, your strategy that you set forth, the things that we've decided to do, I think we're right on target. So why don't you go through these 5 things, and afterwards I want you to check back in with me. Show me the progress, and let's talk about, do we need to make any adjustments? If you come across any items that we haven't talked about, or you're having to make some decisions that are further down the road than we've been able to really discuss, I want you to come back to me. And let's discuss those before you get off and about too far, because I'd rather make some of those decisions together so that you don't have to rework anything if there are items that aren't moving in the direction that we've decided here. Boundaries. That boundary was, don't get too far ahead, and don't make decisions outside of what we've already discussed. Other than that, you have a lot of freedom. You got 5 things to go work on, and then check in with me.
Congratulations! You've completed Delegating and Empowering. However, we have not truly learned until we take action on that knowledge. It's now up to you to live out the leadership lessons you have learned. Thank you for joining Impacting Leaders e-Training.